Yeah, Ajay, please carry on.
All right, good afternoon, team. Manju, thank you so much for setting a perfect preview for the presentation that I am gonna do for the entire team over here. Um, in the industry is always looking on how to get the best out of fresh talent. That has been a question which everybody has been asking for so many years, and some of the companies have successfully kind of nailed out the right way of actually doing that. But if you look at majority of the ITs and IT companies out there, the bringing the best out of the fresh talent is still something which not everybody has been able to crack. So my presentation, I have actually kind of bifurcated into specifically two areas. One is on how corporates look at selecting people. The second being what the corporate expect from a fresh talent from the market. And the third being what the fresh talent is expected to actually kind of deliver, because there are certain things that everybody has to actually put onto the plate so that all of us are successful, right? So some of the things that I'm going to mention may be already been covered by Manjunath from his previous presentation. So going on to slide number 2, which is definitely the selection code. So when people like me go into a campus, or we are actually doing a drive for hiring fresh talent from the market, the most important trait that we actually look from them is definitely the communication skills. Reason being, if you have that ability in a person, majority of the other stuff is kind of pretty much aligned to that. Like Manju has mentioned before, technical knowledge is something which we can teach them at a later point of time, but unless they have the communication skills, which is one of the major traits, it is pretty much difficult to actually kind of mold them into the right track. So the communication skills, again, I would actually kind of bifurcate into two distinct steps, or rather traits right now, because certain jobs would require somebody who actually kind of really communicate well from a verbal standpoint of view, and certain thing more from the way they are actually kind of writing skills and stuff like that. Depends on the kind of job they are actually kind of headed on to. So as a corporate, when somebody is actually going out for a hire, these are the major criteria that they actually keep in mind for hiring. For technology market, the things may be a little more different. They definitely look at the communication skills, but the candidate's ability to kind of logically arrive at certain things, or their ability on arithmetic, for example, would actually definitely help them in selecting a better candidate. So what I actually put as my experience may not be the perfect core for selecting a fresher or a fresh talent from the market, but majority of the traits are something which majority of the corporates are actually kind of looking for. The second point being flexibility. When we go out to hire in this current market scenario, remember that India as a market is more of an offshoring place for majority of the countries out there. Unless a fresh talent is flexible enough to actually work in, like, let's actually take flexibility into two modes. One is the way they are working, then the timings they are working. In the current scenario, a fresher cannot actually demand that I can work only during a day shift. So the flexibility in terms of work hours, the choices they have to make. When I take a talent into my company, majority of the cases, a fresh talent is not given an option to actually select, for example, which technology to choose from, because it is up to the company to decide where to put that person depending upon the needs at that hour. Okay, so moving on to the third factor being teamwork, very critical factor. Everything is we in this world right now. There's nothing called I and an individual contributor in a current scenario. So teamwork being the third most important criteria, along with communication and flexibility. Rest are things which are kind of embedded in a personal trait of a candidate that we look for, the kind of confidence that he brings onto the table during the interview process, the drive he has towards the way he is looking at his life, his career, his vision, where he wants to be, and the last one which being mentioned there being business awareness, like Manjunath mentioned earlier. When somebody is going for, let's say, an interview with one company, at least having the basic aptitude and the attitude of actually going through the company's website, understanding what they are doing, so they are actually much more prepared in the way they are answering the panel, and also they also are aware which company they are going on to. So if those would be the major criteria, the 7 criteria that from a selection code standpoint of view a corporate will be looking like. Coming on to what corporate should be doing for the fresh talent once they are actually onboarded. See, majority of the corporates lose almost like 30 to 35% of their fresh talent in the first 1 year after them being onboarded. In ITS sector, that's even more bigger number. For technology, that may be like around 30s, but if you look at the ITS sector, that number may be even touching as big as 50 to 60%. One is definitely investing a lot in training. Remember, if we have the right set of people, they can be molded onto anything that you actually want them to be. So that is one of the major things and that is where majority of the companies are investing also in these days in terms of training. The training can actually range from, like, let's say 2 weeks time to maybe 3 to 4 months time, and some of the trainings can be even like a on-the-job training. So that being one. Second is believing in the talent itself. So giving them the ability to show their ability, show all their ability on the floor. As a manager, if I'm actually looking at these people on the floor, one is definitely listening to their belief and asking them to demonstrate that is a major and critical factor. It's a very tight world right now where everybody is actually running out of time in majority of the cases, but as long as you are not having the time to listen to them, then we are putting them at a risk. Once a person joins, majority of the corporates are nowadays having that ability of putting what they are expecting from these people as written goals, so that when on the day they join, they know in the next 6 months time what I need to be achieving in order for me to grow in the career. As a corporate, when people are actually joining, they should be mostly inspired, not intimidated, praised for the effort and not for the ability. That is where majority of the people are going wrong these days. Second, when we are giving instructions to them, making it very simple and clear. Remember, they are coming from a very naive world where they're not being in the complexity of a corporate world. So a simple and clear way of explaining things has to be in practice for each and every task which are being assigned to them. Spreading the credit fairly. So when corporates hire in bulk, you have like hundreds and thousands joining in a year, and there are like huge batches. You have to actually kind of measure the credit that is being spread on the floor. There may be extraordinary talent out there, and we all agree on to that. But when we are actually giving the credit out to the freshers and the talent out there, it has to be very, very evenly spread and has to be a fair way of actually doing that. The last being, we all have performance reviews and performance appraisals which happen in a year or in a quarter. But for a fresh talent which is coming from the industry, they are very new into the world of performance appraisals. One of the best way of actually managing those people are definitely calling out their weaknesses and strengths in the beginning itself, and on not just in the beginning, but in a continuous manner, maybe on a weekly or a monthly manner, letting them know that these are the things they are actually doing absolutely well, and these are the things that they actually kind of need to improve on. I'm actually going on to my last slide, which is bringing out the best, which is actually for the people who are actually coming onto the floors, who are freshers, who are out there, who have got a job, who are actually kind of on lookout for a job. Once you reach a corporate, after all the hurdles of selection and your training, no matter what, work hard, because in this current world, somebody has to actually be on top, somebody has to be in the bottom. There are performance reviews, appraisals, everything. So the only way of actually kind of getting onto the top is just by working hard. Keep your eyes open for learning from your co-workers. There are always smarter people around you. That's the truth about the industry. If you think you are the smartest, then there'll be a smarter person who will come and show you the way. So basically start learning from your co-workers, your peers. Pay attention to the office culture because that actually will add a lot of value add in terms of where you are going across to. Taking your work very seriously because it's your first job. Remember that that's where you have to shine, and that will be your first stepping on stone onto the corporate world. Always requesting for a feedback when you are doing something, when you know that things may not be going right, or even if it's going very, very wrong or right, depending on whatever it may be, make sure that you are actually requesting feedback from your peer level as well as your manager, along with the focus that you are expected to do. Now, when the last but one point, know what you expect, is something which you need to kind of look forward to, depending upon the goals that has been assigned to you. So at each step of the way, you have to make sure that what has to be expected, what is being expected out of you, and kind of deliver according to that. Never feel bad for asking for an advice is something which most of us actually go wrong even in our later part of our career. If you think that you are actually not going in the right way, or if you think you have doubt in your mind, there is nothing wrong in actually asking for an advice from your seniors or from your peer level. So with that, team, I actually kind of like pause this presentation, and I can take questions at a later part of this presentation. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ajay. Thanks a lot for the views.